Rob Manfred talking about analytics, talked to an old-time senior owner talking about he's got 75 guys. Don't know what the hell any of them are doing. I find that fascinating because, I wasn't a big analytic guy. I'm still not a big analytical guy. But to hear that from an owner, I find that fascinating because it was all about analytics for the past some odd years, and talking about how guys, you draft a pitcher that some doctors are saying when you draft a pitcher, you're basically drafting somebody who's going to have Tommy John in the near future. So that kind of stuff, it's fascinating. And I don't know how to take it because I've been saying it my whole career that, analytics have some of it is interesting and most of it is just kind of like whatever. So what's your take on that topic?
Well, first of all, the teams that were at the forefront of the analytics movement had a much greater advantage because they were doing things that other teams weren't. And that's the competitive edge that front offices are always looking for, doing something different, something that will distinguish them from the opposition. Early on, Oakland, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Dodgers, whichever teams were at the forefront, the Yankees for a time, those teams did have an edge. What that owner was saying is that now everybody's doing the same thing for the most part. Where's the advantage? Why am I doing this? What's my gain? It's a fair question. Now, for the commissioner to sort of turn on analytics is a little bit ironic, considering that a lot of the general managers, at least a handful of the general managers who were part of this movement, came out of his office. His office didn't seem to mind when the starting pitching was being devalued in a financial way, and the way the game was going, they seemed to like it. Now, because it's essentially wrecked the sport, right? The aesthetic value of the sport, things are turning back around. And I'll give Manfred credit for seeing that was happening and pointing Theo Epstein to the position he has and effectively changing the way the game is played because it needed to be changed. But he's kind of finding religion a little bit late on this, and that said, we're getting to the right place. But Todd, I will say this also. People who think, analytics are going away, we're going back. No. Analytics are going to be here. They're always going to be here. The question is, as always, how do you balance the information, the objective information with the subjective eye tests that also come into play on certain situations? That is the trick of this whole thing. And the best teams blend both. That's always been the lip service we've heard. We don't just use analytics. No, some teams were way deep and are way deep. And that, to me, is what is coming back a little bit. The idea that you can't just rely on the analytics. They're a tool and a very valuable tool, but you've got to use other things as well. Makeup counts. All of these things count.
Here's the part, Ken, where I think we've had healthy debate with Frage, and I think Kratz is mostly on my side. And I've never worked for a team, but I've been around the game a ton and know plenty of front office people. The part that got me was the commissioner saying the competitive advantage piece. I think there was a point in time where if your analytics department was more developed than somebody else's, maybe you got that little edge. Right now, everybody's playing that same game. First of all, there was not a little edge. There was a massive edge. And I can bring up thousands of examples. Let's just bring up like Justin Verlander going from the Tigers to the Astros back in the day. And that's like cameras, tech, investing in that. We had Max Muncy on just before. They spend a ton of money on that too. So I disagree with that point. It wasn't a little edge. It was massive. And I disagree. I think there's still an edge. Maybe it's not as big and teams have caught up and gotten better. But I still think I talk to plenty of players that go, oh my gosh, night and day. I went from this team to this team. They are doing things completely differently and much better.
That is true. And that edge does exist. Tampa Bay is a great example. Players go to Tampa Bay. Players go to the Dodgers. And they learn things about themselves that maybe they didn't know before. They do things differently. What Manfred was saying and what that owner was saying is that edge is diminished as each team ramps up its analytics and does it in that way. Now, the real key here is how you communicate the analytics and how you get the buy-in from the players. That's a separate situation from the actual numbers themselves. That's the implementation of the analytics, and that's the whole key to this thing entirely. Because the teams that cannot communicate it effectively cannot get that to their players and get their players understanding and involved. It doesn't work. But the teams that can, those are the teams that are able to make a difference. And look at the Dodgers. They do it year after year. They bring up young guys in their system that they know can play a certain way because that's how they've been taught. And it's like anything else. You get that kind of buy-in, you get that kind of synthesis in your organization, then you're ahead.